I got to read the rest of it, just saying, don't get jealous. All right. Our next reader is Rosie Corey. She was born and raised in New York, graduated from Farmingdale High School in 2008, and attended the State University of New York at New Paltz, and graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's in adolescent education. She developed a real passion for writing at age 12 after composing a one-page Little Red Riding Hood ripoff, haven't we all, right? In her grandmother's living room, which is now her own. Within a few months, she had over a dozen stories put together in a binder. Since then, she's written quite a number of stories, poems, and a few nonfiction pieces. She's been working on her first novel, part of a trilogy, since 2007. She's had a few stories published in anthologies for reading contests, and has 2 self-published books, but is still looking for her breakthrough into the world of writers. You're there. What breakthrough? Come on. Welcome, Rosie.
It's really funny that, I don't want to pick on you, but everyone says New Paltz, it's actually New Paltz, but that's okay.
Oh,
jeez. No, it's okay. Honestly, it happens all the time. It's a weird town name. This is an excerpt from a longer piece that I started working on a couple of years ago. It's not my novel. I'm not quite sure how long it's going to turn out to be. And I do want to break a big rule of writers and apologize for something, even though writers really should never apologize for their work. But the time period that I'm kind of working with in here may or may not change, so if it doesn't seem to really make sense, just bear with me. It's a work in progress. The working title of this piece is called TTYN, which stands for Talk to You Never. I was nervous when high school first began 2 weeks ago because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to keep up. But it's not terribly horrible. His words stay printed across the 60-inch screen while he types out his next set, after which they are bumped up a line by the next one. A monotone robotic voice pronounces each word as they appear on the screen, for those who don't wish to look up from their doodles. The kid next to me, Frankie is his name, is decorating his graphite surfboard with asymmetrical patterns and a skull and crossbones figure on top. The person riding it looks a lot like our teacher, with a few exaggerations. I roll my eyes. By this point, Mr. Foreman has typed a single question mark, which means he's asking us if we have any questions. I do. I raise my hand and he points to acknowledge it. Mr. Foreman, what were their intentions? Why go through all the trouble? I said. That's right. I said, not typed. Mr. Foreman's eyes lit up momentarily, and he puts his fingers to the keyboard and types a response. I was just getting to that. An excellent question. He continues on with his lesson. Time is dragging along like a maimed dog, but only because it's quiet. It's always quiet. The only sounds to be heard are the shuffling of feet under the desks, the click of the keys, and that robotic male voice pronouncing each word. Imagine being locked in a bleach-white room with only a ticking clock. It's a wonder I haven't been driven to insanity yet. It's easier for the others. My world is filled with sounds and noises, much like things used to be, but my classmates dwell complacently in silence because they know not how to make sounds. Although that's not entirely true. Granted, there's music and television, but just like the computer and the robotic voice, those sounds come from machines. Mr. Foreman finishes his lesson, and my question has been answered. He asks, once again, for any questions. Frankie looks up from his notebook and raises his hand. When Mr. Foreman acknowledges him, he types into his cell phone and presses the speak button. What were we talking about? The cell phone asks. Frankie just stares at Mr. Foreman, who throws him a pouty face. The bell rings and the school becomes alive once again. The hall noises are a muddle of things. There's the click of keyboard keys as students type messages into their phones to send to their friends. But mostly there's the shuffling of feet and the slamming of lockers. One group of guys are huddled in a circle with their phones out, texting. Girls are reapplying lip gloss in their compact mirrors before gym class. Across from them, 3 blondes are shooting flirtatious faces at a couple of jocks down the hallway. I don't even stop to consider whether or not the jocks are interested. 2 more girls are standing close to my locker, phones out and thumbs moving. When I say moving, I mean it. They hit the speak button and I hear a part of their conversation. But he was really sweet and nice to her, and I don't know why she gave him a cold shoulder. I know, it's so weird. I totally wouldn't have done that. If you say one more time, I'll have to vomit I think. I change books and go to biology, hoping my next class will at least be more grammatically correct. One of my homework assignments tonight is to prepare a rough draft of a letter to a student from a past year. Piece of cake. I open my notebook to a clean sheet and write, "Dear student," no, that's way too formal. I crumple the sheet and toss it on the floor, then write, "To the person of the past." Yes, much better. Whether or not you are able to read this is not something I will ponder over right now. Instead, I will write to you anyway. My name is Aspen, like the city in Colorado, only I wasn't born in Colorado, I was born here in Ithaca, New York. As strange as it may sound, I wish I had been born in your time. The people here in the year 2073 are dull and boring and very quiet. That's because no one speaks. Well, actually, some do. I don't have any scientific data or anything to help clarify what I'm about to explain to you, so you'll just have to go with it. Starting around the 1950s, people began to lose their ability to speak. People born around your time, the year 1900, still could, and so could the ones born in 1950, but even they didn't talk as much as they typed. Their children were even worse, and their children's children, and so on. Babies nowadays can't even make a sound at all. It hurts when they cry, and their parents have to hold and comfort them. You're probably wondering if I'm like one of those babies, and the answer is no. I'm a speaker. That's the official name for what I am, but we're also called chatties, and if someone really wants to insult you, an ear popper. Both of my parents can talk, and they raised me the same way. I thank them for that. I guess you want to know how people communicate around here. I'll tell you, it's not through sign language. That's the thing of the past. Everyone here owns a cell phone with a full keypad, so people mostly text each other, and we call them texters. There's a speak button, which allows the phone to read off the words on the screen. Oh, and you can choose from a variety of voices, but they all sound like robots. It's the closest thing people have been able to come up with to a real voice. Personally, I think the whole thing is atrocious. Speaking is so much easier. Why anyone would want to trade it in is beyond me, but that's just how it happened. You can just imagine what school must be like. Practically no one talks. Even most of the teachers are like that. They just sit in front of a computer the whole day and type up their lessons so we can copy down notes. Most people have tablets that are like portable computer screens so they can type their notes into them, but I just use a notebook and a pen. Still, school's a bore, trust me. And think of the vocabulary level. Teachers are starting to accept word abbreviations like PPL, which stands for people, or HBT, how about that, in student writing. Can you believe that? You have no idea what I would give to be able to see the past, to have someone to talk to. I know a lot of people who would care for a glimpse into the future, but where's the fun in that? No more surprises. I hope you're not one of those people because this is what you would see. It's ugly and you shouldn't look. My phone goes off. I only have one because of my sister, just in case she needs to get a hold of me. The message is from her and it says, "Dinner's ready." I push my overloaded letter to the side and join my family downstairs. As I sit down, I look over at my mother on the phone, with my aunt, I suppose. She's twisting the yellow cord between her fingers. Hardly anyone has phones in their houses anymore, let alone a corded one. I'll have to remember to put that in my letter. Kelsey comes bounding down the stairs and jumps the last two, landing with a huge thud and waking our dog, Rocky. She then proceeds to her spot at the table and sits down without a peep or grin. I remember how she used to talk as a baby. When she first discovered her voice, she was amazed at the sound she could make. When she reached kindergarten, she noticed how her teacher taught a large population of the class to type and spell on computers. Besides the teacher, she was the only other speaker. Years ago, kids picked on each other over looks and music taste, but Kelsey was picked on for her voice, for having a voice. They'd stare her down and exclude her from activities, but she stuck it out for a while. By 4th grade, she began to realize that speaking was uncool, and if learning how to text would stop the hurtful gazes and exclusions, then why not? She saved her birthday money and bought herself a cell phone. First, she learned how to text. Then she bordered the line between texting and speaking. I was afraid, and I had good reason to be. I tried to talk her out of it, but she wouldn't listen. "I'm fine," she'd say. In 5th grade, she met Jack, a hardcore texter. He played baseball for the JV team as a shortstop. There was some flirtation and key conversations, and the next thing I knew, my sister had a boyfriend. He never said anything when he came over, because he couldn't. But Mom thought he was a nice guy anyway. That was when Kelsey stopped speaking. It's a trend, and Kelsey fell right into it. She refuses to speak, and hasn't for over 2 years now, even though my parents have tried everything they can. Speaking, I'm sure, has become difficult for her, like a chore. As I look at her now sitting across from me in her skinny jeans and tank top, her long, straight, dusty hair and hazel eyes, I realize that my sister hasn't said a word in 2 years. 2 years! She glares at me, and I turn my attention elsewhere. "That was your aunt," says my mother, as she comes to the table to join us. Dad dishes out pasta, and I reach for the salad. "How is Grandma?" "Doing better today. Her fever broke." "That's good to hear," I say. We pause to eat a little. Rocky strolls in and tries to snag some pieces. Dad throws him a chunk of meatball. "Kelsey, how was school?" Kelsey shoots my mother a rude look, then types her response. "Boring." "Why was it boring?" "IDK." That's just about the extent of our interaction. She lives in a house full of speakers and pretends that she isn't, that she's better than us, that what we're doing is so old it's liable to turn to dust at any given moment. But she doesn't argue it anymore because she knows she's outnumbered. "I have an assignment to write a letter to someone from the past," I say. "When's it due?" Dad asks. "Friday." Kelsey picks up the last pieces of lettuce before she rises, dumps her plates, and retreats upstairs. I stay a while longer, inquiring about my parents' day and such. On the way back upstairs, I notice Kelsey sitting at her computer, blasting out music and typing God knows how many instant messages. It makes me sick. I turn to my room and shut the door. My assignment is waiting for me, but I cast it aside. Though it has taken my parents a while, I've never gotten used to Kelsey becoming a texter. What bothers me most isn't what she is, but how she came to be this way. I want so badly to believe that no one would dare fall victim to society's cruel jokes and standards, but Kelsey is living proof that I'm wrong. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm disappointed. And maybe, just maybe, it's not too late. Thanks.